You make me feel like I've been caught with my bongos down.
You got caught with your bongos down. Alright.
What I'm doing to do today,
What's he going
this
to do?
evening,
What's he going
is
to
read these two chapters
Ah,
that I've been dying to get to.
fantastic.
Chapter 25 and chapter 26 of
Looking
the
forward
book called The Snake Doctor.
let me hold him. Let me see it.
I want to give a little,
Okay.
okay, I want to give a little lead into this by
Okay.
saying this.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Ghana for the first time in 1992, and I had the good fortune of being introduced to an incredible human being and a very warm person named Susan Amagachi, who was the first the first Montessori school founder in Ghana, so far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
And she had this wonderful house in Labone, and her school day, I think, was from 7 to 2 before the sun became hot and all of that. And after 2 o'clock, more like 2:30, 3:30, those of us who were living in Accra, who were interested in going to hear and to exchange ideas and to just be, came to her school. And it's the closest thing I could ever call a salon, except that it was not one of these elitist things. People came with real serious down-to-earth ideas. People came with high-flown ideas. It was a meeting place for those of us who were interested in exchanging ideas and seeking solutions for the world's problems. Obviously, we didn't solve the world's problem, but she gave me an idea, and I believe I talked to her about it several times. She may not remember because she had conversation with thousands of people. But I remember telling her that at some point I was going to write a novel and include her in some way in it, and I've done that here with The Snake Doctor. Okay, here we are in chapter 25. Kojo lowered the wick inside his lantern and stared out of the window at the storm. He's living in this little village called Tsito for a few days. It's a hot day. I'm drinking as much liquid as I can. How long can it rain this hard? Midnight. He sprawled on his bed, listening to the hard rain splattering on the thatched hut. Incredible design, the thatched hut. He could see huge rivulets splashing down the window pane. I've never experienced anything like this, but there were no leaks. For a few minutes he felt afraid, but it passed because he couldn't identify the cause of his fear. Am I afraid of the thunder, the lightning, the rain? The long roll of thunder that started off as a bass drum beat ended with a trillion bolts of lightning. He laced his hands behind his head. In West Africa, I swear to God, you would believe that there is a Shango. When you look up in the sky, it feels like it's about this far over your head, and it's thunder and lightning, and a long roll of thunder started off as a bass drum beat, ended with a trillion bolts of lightning. He laced his hands behind his head. It would be very easy to understand how and why a man would feel humble before nature, why a man, a human being, would find reasons to worship this kind of energy. I have to dig a little more deeply into this. I have to find out more. He drifted off into a storm-driven sleep. His dreams were vivid, almost psychedelic. He felt himself running across wide stretches of land, chasing some sort of deer-like animals with a large stone bound to the end of a stout stick. There were other men running with him. They were chasing animals, corralling them, herding them toward a steep cliff. They shouted and waved their clubs to make the animals run over the edge of the cliff. Finally, after the last animal had jumped or was pushed by his companions, the men came to stand at the edge of the cliff. They were shouting and dancing, celebrating. Now, after many hungry weeks, they had meat, food. The women who had been following them finally caught up and followed the men down the steep trails to the ground beneath the cliff, their sharp stone knives ready to skin the animals and cut up the meat. The men wandered through the herd of animals, clubbing those to death who had not been killed by the fall of the cliff. A few of the men and women used flint and dry moss to start fires. They wanted to roast and eat some of the meat on the spot. They were hungry. Aside from that, they could use the fire to frighten the other animals away, the giant wolves, the giant hyenas, the other beasts who craved meat, who were beginning to assemble on the fringe of their kill, lured by the smell of blood. Kofi tasted the barely toasted, roasted meat. He looked at the gleaming eyes beyond the peripheral areas of the man-made fires. We managed to survive because we had fire. But who made the thunder and the lightning? The crowing of the roosters sounded slightly soggy, but it was there, nevertheless. Aunt Eugenia made her dynamic appearance soon after sunrise. She called from the doorway, "Kofi, my son, you are there?" "Yes, ma'am, I'm here." "So come out and see what God has done to his world." Kofi lowered his midnight wick, pulled out a black t-shirt and stumbled out to a world of muck and goo. All of the thatched huts in old Tsito had weathered the storm well, but the ground all around was like shallow red quicksand. Aunt Eugenia and her neighbors were energetically pushing and pulling at the plants in their gardens, checking on the thatch of their huts. They called out to each other as they worked. Kofi couldn't figure out what to do. Aunt Eugenia, sensitive to his helplessness, called for him to come and help her straighten up the corn rows in her garden. "Understand them, my son. Know where they want to grow. Don't try to bend them to your will, eh?" Kofi thought, yeah, that Japanese planting raising technique, bonsai, and went in that direction. Hours later, Aunt Eugenia complimented him. "Kofi, you did not do so badly. It is time for us to go to church. Please wear your long pants and your long shirt." Kofi felt his head spinning. We've just been rained on to the point where you could swim through some of the puddles. People have been up since dawn trying to square their lives away. And the sister's talking about church. Oh well.
I guess so.
Brother Kwame put in a miraculous appearance a half hour before the church service. This is his taxi driver who brought him there.
Hallelujah.
I know you would be anxious, sir, so I started my journey to collect you quite early. Aunt Eugenia took charge. Brother Kwame, you will go to church yourself, and after that you will enjoy Omotu, and then you will go back to the city to do his work with this one. Kofi had no idea what Aunt Eugenia had said to Brother Kwame, and Brother Kwame confessed later that he was not sure what she said himself. I do not always hear the Ebe correctly. It's very difficult. But Sister Eugenia made it quite clear that I was not to leave before we had chopped on Omotu. Brother Kwame drove them to the church in New Tsito very carefully. A seasoned mud driver, he stayed on the hard edges of the road away from the gushy middle. They made it. Kofi was surprised to see a packed house. There were lots of muddy feet to be washed in 3 large basins at the entrance of St. Michael's Episcopal Church. But everybody's clothes, he noticed, were clean, starched, and pressed. The choir of 6 men and 6 women sang a gorgeous collection of songs in Ewe. Kofi settled back in the straight back pew to take it all in. By the time the priest with his white dog collar came to the pulpit, the church was beginning to broil. The priest gave his long sermon in English. Kofi leaned over to ask his driver, "Why is he speaking in English?" Brother Kwame wrinkled his brow, thinking hard on the question before he replied, whispered back, "Maybe it is difficult, sir, to talk about Christianity in Ewe." The priest took a long
Good
time
question.
to explain.
Good answer.
Took a long time to explain that they were all sinners, that God was punishing them every day for their sins. He reassured them that they would suffer the sulphurous fires of eternal damnation, and on and on. You know? Kofi stifled a yawn and stared up at the corrugated metal roof. God, if we stay in here much longer, we'll all be cooked. We won't have to burn in hell. A lot of funny stuff goes on.
I know.
The collection basket had been passed twice, and the congregation was limp from the humidity of being chastised. The priest, a small, pot-bellied, stiff-necked black man, stood at the exit, shaking hands and offering more advice to the sinners. "Joshua, I have not seen you in church for the past month. Why?" "I've been busy working on my farm." "That's no excuse. You should always remember that the most bountiful harvest comes from being in the house of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ."
Okay.
Kofi dreaded his encounter with the little self-righteous moralist. One long sermon was enough to make him dislike the man. "Aha! The American that everyone has spoken of. I'm glad to see that you came to share the Lord's blessing today. Have you found Jesus?" "Not yet. I'm still looking."
No.
There was something in Kofi's tone of voice that alerted the priest to the fact that he had a sinner in front of him. "And tell me this, my boy. How long will you go on looking for what is obviously right in front of you?" "Well, you know how it is, Reverend. Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees." Eugenia ended the beginning debate by nudging Kofi's back and mumbling to the priest that she passed, "Very good sermon, priest. Very good sermon." In the taxi going back to Old Tsito, Eugenia made one remark that seemed to sum up the whole morning. "That man likes the sound of his voice too much."
Well said.
Too much. After the delicious goat stew with large molded balls of rice, or washed down with the cold bottle of club beer,
Ooh, really?
they were ready to make the trip back to Accra. Eugenia fussed over him like a mother hen. "Kofi, you have the number for Grace?" "Yes, ma'am." "Your clothes are there, all clean and proper? You will tell your father and his wife to come visit me before I die?" "Yes, ma'am." "Here, take this omotua for you and Brother Kwame to eat as you travel. You don't want to starve to death before you reach Accra." "Yes, ma'am." Finally, they exchanged right up and they simply stood in place, staring at each other. Brother Kwame looked from one to the other, wondering how the scene would end. Kofi reached down and gently swept the old lady into his arms. "Thank you, Auntie. Thank you for everything." When he released her, she took a step back from him, shading her eyes from the sun. "Kofi, my son, you are tall." "No, ma'am. I'm not so tall. You're very short." He popped into the taxi, registering her huge smile in his memory. Brother Kwame waved goodbye and slowly maneuvered to the yard edge of the road. "Your auntie's a good woman, son." Kofi stared into the side view mirror of Aunt Eugenia, standing in the middle of the road, a chew-stick toothbrush in the corner of her mouth, both fists jammed onto her hips. "Yeah, you're right. She is a good woman. I left her 100,000 CDs under the pillow on her bed, just a little gift, not a dash." Brother Kwame almost slid over the edge of the road as he looked at Kofi and blinked. 100,000 cedis, sir. You think I should have left more? Oh, no, sir. 100,000 in Tsito is serious money. She would be very happy. 100,000, what's that? $12? I should have left 200,000. The sun didn't take long to bake the road almost back to its former hardness. Kofi was damp with perspiration. The road ahead seemed to be filled with mirages, the heat waves shimmering up from the baking earth. What is America like, sir? The question came from the driver's mouth, but it sounded very strange. What is America like? Kofi's immediate response was to say, I don't know. I haven't been there in a few days. What is America like? Is that what you asked me? He thought hard on the question. I have to be honest with this man. Brother Kwame, you know something? When I was younger, let's say 12, 15, something like that, I would have been able to answer your question without hesitation. I could have said, America's my skateboard, or America's this rapper that I like, or it's a milkshake, or this girl next door, or something like that. But now that I've gotten older, I'm 25 now, Brother Kwame smiled in his direction, so young. Kofi returned the smile. Yeah, I know. But now that I've gotten older and take a harder look at things, I can't honestly say what America is like. There's so many Americas. There's a white America, a black America, a yellow America, a Native American America, a white rich America, a white poor America, a poor black America, and a rich black America. There are different kinds of whites, Russians, Germans, Irish, English, etc., etc. Different kinds of blacks, Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Brazilians, mixtures of all kinds, different kinds of yellows and Native Americans too. There are layers and layers of people, like a giant cake. That's just dealing with the people. Now you have to start with the people because they are the ones who make the place what it is. There are people who think things should be done this way. Others who think that things should be done that way. People who like this. Other people who hate that. Some people say that America is a big melting pot. Others say the opposite. And maybe they're both right or wrong. It all depends on your point of view. I'm getting you, sir. You are? Yes, I am. America is complex.
Yes, it is.
Yeah? Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. But complex like what? Like the inside of a watch? Maybe. Like the inside of a human body? Maybe. Maybe it's all of the above. They both are. Brother Kwame, you may be thirsty. Let's pull over somewhere and get something to drink. I'll tell you more about what America is like later. Your friend's village is a few miles ahead. My friend, the Arab man. Oh yeah, let's stop there. I told him I would drop in on the way back to Accra. But we'll only stay a half hour. I have a lot of stuff to do. Chapter 26 here. The children who surrounded him on his short walk to Mr. Al-Bayati's store were not laughing, bouncing around. They seemed very solemn, almost sad. He opened the screen door, walked in. The table and stools were still in place, the ceiling fan still whirling slowly. Mr. Al-Bayati, a woman's voice answered. I'm coming. He stood in place, looking around at the shelves of canned goods, the rolls of bright cloth, buckets of odds and ends. Mrs. Al-Bayati came in through the rear door, holding a sleeping baby in her arms. Kofi didn't want to stare at her, but it was hard not to stare. Mrs. Al-Bayati looked like a charcoal carving with almond-shaped eyes. About 5'5", he estimated, and gorgeously shaped. Not too much of anything anywhere. Your husband, Mr. Al-Bayati, is he here? I told him I would drop in on him on my way back to the city. The woman stared at the floor for a moment before speaking in a soft voice. Saradoon, my husband, was buried yesterday night. Kofi felt like walking out of the store, coming back in for a different version of the scene. I don't understand. Your husband is dead? Kofi felt stupid asking such a dumb question, but he had to make certain he was hearing right. The widow nodded. Yes, yes, yes. How? I mean, what happened? I was just here on Thursday. Yes, I remember. She looked so sad and helpless. Please tell me what happened. Once again, in a soft voice, but with just a tinge of anger in it, some of the people in the village who were jealous of his success with this business made juju on him. Kofi was prepared to hear her say that the man had had a heart attack, that he'd been bitten by a poisonous snake, a scorpion maybe, but juju, what did that mean? Juju? Excuse me, please, I will bring you a cold beer. He thought she had done an extraordinary thing to think of what he wanted with so much on her head. He squatted on the stool. Juju? She had put the baby in his crib and stood at the side of the table with her hands clenched in front of her. Please, Mrs. Al-Bayati, please sit. I don't want to annoy you with a lot of questions, but I'm very curious about this juju. She sat on the edge of the stool, clenching and unclenching her hands. Are the police on this now? Are they looking for the suspect or the suspects? He was surprised to hear such a hard laugh come from someone with such a soft voice. The police in this place cannot deal with juju. They are afraid of it themselves. The beer was cold and went straight to his gut. Please forgive me for asking you this, but what is juju? I don't know what it is. She stopped clenching her hands and placed them both in front of her eyes for a few minutes. Juju is evil, mister. It is evil. And those who do it are evil people, wicked people. Kofi could sense that he was not going to get much more than evil, wicked people. He wanted the components of the philosophy, if there was one, the stuff that went into the making of it. She sat very still, staring at the floor. Kofi guzzled his beer, unsure of what to say. He felt like an intruder on her grief. My husband was a very good man, a decent man. He came to our village from far away, this Iraqi place. He tried to learn our language, and he helped many when they needed help. He loaned many people cedis. He gave credit. Some paid him back, some did not. He said, Allah is great. He will reward me in paradise. And then the jealous ones made juju on him. He wanted to ask me, how do you know it was juju that killed him, but decided not to? He stood, overpaid her for his beer, and turned to walk out. Thank you for returning, mister. My husband would like that. Thank you, Mrs. Al-Bayati. They had driven 5 miles from the village and the tragedy in the store before Brother Kwame asked, so you want now to know about juju, sir? Brother Kwame, you're reading my mind. How did you find out what happened? I spoke with the older children, they told me. So what is this? I've heard the word before, but I don't think I've ever known anybody personally to be harmed by it. Brother Kwame pursed his lips thoughtfully, easing around a wagon loaded with melons. Sir, I think juju is like America. There are many layers, and I think they are all wicked and evil. I've never heard of good juju. So what's it made of? How's it done? Once again, Brother Kwame pursed his lips, rubbed his chin. I can only give you one example that came in the newspaper last year. An Ashanti man wanted to make some serious money for his export-import business. He went to the juju man. The juju man says, I will make it possible for you to have this serious money you desire. You must bring me 3 newborn boy baby hearts. Kofi cringed involuntarily. 3 boy baby hearts? Sir, are you getting me? Kofi nodded yes, feeling repulsed and disgusted. You must bring me the left hand of a young woman who has recently died. You must bring me the eyes of a black cat and 300,000 cedis. And within 90 days, I guarantee you, you will receive serious money for your business. Well, did he get the money? Yes, sir, he did get the money. But he got caught smuggling drugs into the country, and the police made him confess to his deal with the juju man. How did they make him confess? Oh, this is Ghana here, sir. The police have their ways to make the criminal confess. The hustle and bustle of Accra was beginning to envelop the car. Wonder what Selena's doing. I've had enough juju for one day. The hotel staff greeted him like a long-lost relative. Mr. Brown, good to see you back. We were praying for your safety. The rain was very bad in Tsito, eh? Hard for me to say. First time I've ever experienced anything like that. You have a message here. He could tell from the sneaky look in the hotel clerk's eyes that he had opened the small envelope. Dear Kofi, I was passing the green leaf and decided to leave this note for you. Call me when you return. I miss you now. Kisses, Selena. May I use your phone? Oh, sorry, Mr. Brown. The telephone is spoiled. We can send a message with a small boy if you like. Easier and simpler to send a young man in a taxi rather than use the phone. Well, that's one way to solve the problem. Dear Selena, just as you predicted, it is Sunday afternoon and I'm back. Would you like to join me at Susan's place this evening for a cocktail or two? I will be there at 8. More kisses, Kofi. Remarkably easy to send a message. Yes, sir, I know Leboni. I locate this person. But how? I've only given you the name of the street she lives on. No problem, sir. Her neighbors will know her. And while you're at it, drop these letters at the post office for me. A generous 10,000 CD dash tip made the desk clerk click his tongue with disapproval. The boy does not receive so much, does not deserve so much, Mr. Brown. But he has to take a taxi, doesn't he? He will not take a taxi, he will run. He is halfway there now. Kofi sprawled on the bed in his room, resting and sorting a few things out in his head before going to Susan's place. Al-Bayati, Mrs. Al-Bayati, Juju. I guess it would be possible to kill someone physically. Oh, well, whatever. He's gone now. Tsito, Aunt Eugenia. Seemed unreal that I was there. I remember that time for the rest of my life. The storm, the aftermath. Asiafo, the girl's name is Kudu. The girl is a well-grown woman now, 20-some years ago. The baby she had must be about my age now. What a hell of a world we live in with all of this kind of stuff to be happening. Asiafo was a juju man. Dad had dealings with a juju man. You give me what I want and I'll make sure you get what you want. That's enough of that. Time for a power nap. Hope the small boy was able to deliver my note to Selena. So, how is handsome? Good evening, Susan. And I must say, you're looking quite gorgeous yourself. It's all done with smoke, mirrors, and makeup, believe me. Excuse me, have a little problem instead of solving in the kitchen. Make yourself at home. Kofi strolled through the half-filled room, responding to the pleasant greetings from the tables in the room. Good evening, good evening. A pleasant nod here, smile there. One of the hippest, friendliest places I've ever been in. Usually if a place has a hip reputation, the clientele tend to be a bit snooty. But that's not the case in Susan's place. He sat at a table next to the wall, near the rear exit, a spot that gave him a fisheye view of the scene. A beautiful mix of people. A few beautiful women who also looked interesting and intelligent, not simply beautiful. A fashion plate here, a buffed up type there, all looking sophisticated. May I take your order, sir? Your name is Zacharias, isn't it? Yes, sir, you have a good memory. How could I ever forget? Yes, sir, madame. Zacharias, I'd like a little something to munch on and a nice cold daiquiri. Yes, sir. He sat back and admired Selena's interest, the way she paused, placed her left hand on her beautiful hip, and coolly surveyed the room. Ah, you're hiding over here. She gave him a little peck on the lip before sitting across from him. Kofi was stunned by the intricately wrapped gaily, the iridescent skirt and blouse, her lovely face, the subtle perfume. You look absolutely gorgeous, you know that? For now, wait until you see me 20 years from now. I think I should like to see you 20 years from now. She gave him a curious look at the waiter placed his daiquiri and an oval plate with Scotch eggs in front of him. Oh, daiquiri and Scotch eggs. That's an interesting combination, especially the daiquiri. May I have one, please? Zacharias, do you think we could have another one of these? I will bring it, sir. Selena took a healthy bite of the Scotch egg. Kofi stared at the meat-covered egg. I don't think I've ever had one of these. Try one, they're delicious. Susan swept through, passed at the table to greet Selena with a cheeky kiss. It appears that we'll have to keep Mr. Brown in Ghana here, Selena. It would give us the opportunity to see you more often. Selena cast her eyes down demurely, pleased with Susan's remark, and then Susan was off to take care of other business. Kofi and Selena sipped their daiquiris. Now that's the way a daiquiri should be. They clinked glasses and a silent toast. So, how was it in Tsito? Warm feeling, caring, delightful. At the end of the day, muddy as hell. Yeah, we got a little rain here too, but it never seemed to be as bad as it's in the villages. Miles Davis playing the Solea cut from Sketches of Spain grabbed Kofi's ears. That's one of my dad's favorite pieces of music. I don't know it at all. All you have to do is listen to it once. You'll know it forever. He reached his hand across the table to hold her hand. While they listened to Miles blow, Kofi whispered, "Look around. We're not the only disciples in the house." Most of the couples in the place had stopped their conversation to pay attention to the music. 2 more daiquiris arrived at their table, courtesy of Susan, who gave them a thumbs up and a big smile from behind the bar. The Solea was followed by something less mesmerizing, giving him a chance to carry on the conversation. "Kofi, I missed you." "I missed you too, Selena." I told myself I didn't want to miss you, but I missed you anyway. He wanted to ask her why she felt so ambivalent about him, but he felt he understood because he felt the same way. "I can't think of anything I would like to do more than make love to this gorgeous woman, but then what? She's already made it plain that she's saving herself for her husband. She wants a commitment, a relationship. Am I ready for that? Ready or not, I still want her because she looks so delicious, so feminine, so desirable." Kofi. Yes, I'm right here. I asked you if you had a girlfriend in the States." Deborah, a girlfriend? No, more like an interim sex partner. "No, I don't have a girlfriend at home." "You lie." Yeah, it's a lie. Why alienate by you by telling you the truth? And besides, I think it would be too difficult to explain what a sex buddy is. Deborah's words ran through his subconsciousness. Kofi, look, I don't want to mislead you or anything, but I have to be perfectly candid with you, okay? My career comes before anything else. I want to have sex with you, and we will have sex. But it will have to be a monogamous thing, you know what I'm saying? I cannot run the risk of contracting any fatal doses of anything. I can promise you that, and you'll be my only sex partner. Can you make that promise? I can, definitely. And we'll give each other advance notice with no malice or forethought if we decide to change that status quo. Agreed? Deborah, you're going to be a great attorney. I can feel it in my bones. Me too. Now, what were you saying to me about these world-class condoms you have? I'd rather show you than tell you. Well, Deborah Ashley would be world-class criminal lawyer, sex partner. Sometimes they joked about it. Kofi, you know, I think we must be the only couple I know of with a pre-sexual agreement. It was working. They were into their third year of mutually satisfying sex. Would it develop into more than that? He had doubts. It's good for what it is, but who wants to delude himself into thinking that sex, and sex alone, was the foundation for anything concrete? No, dear Selena, I wouldn't be able to explain my sex buddy to you. Selena, let's take a little stroll. They took their daiquiris and walked toward the rear exit. Zacharias was covering their Scotch eggs with a large white cloth the minute they left the table. They strolled the path between the palms, sipping their daiquiris. Kofi, I said that you lie about having a girlfriend at home. You didn't dispute it. Several other couples passed them arm in arm. His arm around her waist, whispering little jokes, enjoying the atmosphere. No, I didn't dispute it. And I didn't give you a yay or a nay because I don't think the question is relevant to our circumstances in Ghana here. They sat on a small white bench bordering the path. What is that croaking I hear? Are those frogs? Thousands of them. They are always out after a big rain. Selena took a long sip from her glass and placed it on the ground near the bench. She reached over and gently lifted his glass from his hand. Kofi, can you kiss me? I like the way you kiss. I don't want to quarrel. And on that note, kissy kissy.
Oh, it ends on a kissy kissy?
Ah, yes, for the moment. Only because it's chapter 26. And if I did it all right now, we wouldn't have any 27. So that's the way it's going.
Okay, so that's the end of chapter 26.
That's the end of 26.
Why, thank you, Odie Hawkins. That was so nice.
The story is beginning to draw me back into it. You know, I think sometimes it's a little bit like running a marathon when you write a novel. There are parts, at times when you sort of wind up drifting to wait to see how it's going to work itself out. I think you can have you have an idea, you have an outline, but then it starts taking twists and turns. You know, the thing I'm doing right now, for example, I have Willie Smith talking to his friend,
Rufus.
What's the guy?
Rufus?
Yeah. He's talking to him about his life, and as I said, I'm divided into spring, summer, winter, and fall. Spring, summer, fall, and winter. And the guy's trying to tell him what's like growing up on the west side of Chicago. Well, the young black man grew up on the south side of Chicago. He's 28, and Rufus is 70.
You just drifted into your story that you're writing now, which
Yes,
might just
yes.
confuse a few
As
people.
yeah. No, but I mean, as
Okay.
a demonstration, as an example of how it is that a book can grab you and start making its own demands. I feel the same way about the Snake Doctor.
Yeah.
At one point, I had no idea what the relationship was going to be between Salena and Kofi until I met you. And I decided, well, since her name is close to the name I'm using in this character in the book, the character book's name is also Salena.
Yes.
And if
Interesting coincidence.
I married you, Salena, why wouldn't Kofi marry this Salena?
Ah.
But first, they have to go through some changes
I see.
and things. I hope this doesn't become too confusing. I started becoming subconscious there for me.
No, it's very lovely. The book, The Snake Doctor.
The book is The Snake Doctor.
It can be.
held it up.
Yes. It can be purchased on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Author House, or go to your local bookstore and say, I want to purchase The Snake Doctor by Odie Hawkins.
Hey,
Okay, your website is www.odiehawkins.com. You are also on the author's page on Amazon.
oh yeah.
One can Google Odie Hawkins to be surprised of the many adventures of Odie Hawkins. Moments in time. And if you like this video, please hit the like button below and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And we will look forward to tomorrow evening.
Tomorrow, I'm anxious
Chapter
to find out what
27.
happens.
Yes.
So,
And so many kisses. We're leaving them kissing outside with the frogs. How nice.
good night.
Good night.